Rebecca?
Next question I'm going to toss to Ned. This is an email from John in Baltimore. I've heard that bargaining strength is an important reason to merge. Can you please explain why that's an important reason?
Sure. Look, bargaining strength is an important reason to merge because it is truly the foundation of all the protections a union can provide. It's the reason unions exist. Unions are about the collective. Unions are about groups of people coming together to exert pressure on the employers. And obviously, your ability to do that is undermined if you're two groups of people, or three or four. If you're any more than one, you don't have maximum bargaining strength, because the root of bargaining strength is the ability to say no and make sure that no one else can say yes. That's it. I mean, who wants to be in a union that can shut down half of television, or part of commercials, or a quarter of interactive video? I mean, it just doesn't make sense, folks. If you really want to have power, you've got to be sitting across that bargaining table and be able to say, no, that won't do, and understand that your employers cannot get your services anywhere else. That's real power, and that's important because that raises everything that we do. That raises our wages, it raises our residuals, it betters our working conditions, and it increases our pension and health benefits. Those are a function of our bargaining strength as well. So that's why bargaining strength is so important to merger, and it's the key reason why this should happen.
Thank you. This is a Twitter from @BrotherBo. In a new union, will we have to start from scratch when negotiating our new contracts? If no, do we start from AFTRA or SAG rates? Can you answer that for us, Kim?
Sure. In the new union, as I think Tom may have mentioned this earlier, the new union will succeed to the contracts of both AFTRA and Screen Actors Guild. So you don't have to start from scratch. The existing contracts will be inherited by the new union. The collective bargaining agreements that will be bargained from are the ones that currently exist. And in fact, in many areas, such as commercials, corporate, which is our first big national contract coming up, the terms and conditions in the AFTRA and SAG collective bargaining agreements are identical. Where there are differences between the two unions, certainly one of our major goals, and this is actually stated in the merger agreement, is that we will be working from the highest set of terms and conditions, and we will be bargaining to ensure that we not only maintain, but that we increase from our highest set of terms and conditions.
Okay. This is going to be for David White. I have 27 years of pension credits as of this writing. I've heard many rumors about embezzlements from both unions and horror stories about the losses that the pension and health departments have had in the last few years. Can you please address this? This is from Mark via email.
Great question, Mark. And there has been a lot of information and perhaps more importantly misinformation out there about issues like embezzlement from the SAG pension and health plans. I'll state a little bit about this. There was a situation where a former employee went on the rounds in the blogosphere and made several accusations, but those have been investigated. There has been no embezzlement, and the SAG pension and health plans are in great shape. In fact, they're formally in great shape. They are in the green zone, which is a designation by the government, by the federal government, the arm that oversees plans like our pension and health plans, that states they are in the category of the most financially healthy. I do want to make one statement about people's accrued benefits, your vested rights in your pension plans. With this merger and the subsequent activity that we'll have with the plans, when the trustees actually take up merging the plans and doing what's in the best interest of the participants, once all of the contracts for both SAG and AFTRA are going into one house, the House of SAG AFTRA, your rights are protected by federal law. Again, the plans for both SAG and AFTRA are in the green zone. No embezzlement. All pension plans took a hit in 2008, along with every other investment vehicle and financial house in the country, and all plans had to recover from that. But our plans are in very good shape. Your benefits are protected by federal law, and one statement that we like to make that helps people understand this: your vested rights, your accrued benefits in the plans, you take them like luggage with you. You take them like luggage from the Screen Actors Guild or from AFTRA, and you take them into SAG AFTRA, and they are forever protected.
Oh, I love hearing that. Okay. This is from Rigo, and this is actually a question I'm hearing a lot of, and I'm going to ask Ned to answer it. I am a background actor. How much will I make per union job? Also, I fear there will be less jobs and the market will be flooded, and that I will not come close to meeting the qualifications for benefits and pension.
Okay, well, there's a couple aspects to that. First of all, on what will your pay rate be? Kim mentioned it earlier. The contracts that are in force right now will remain in force until they expire. So if you do a SAG or AFTRA primetime television show, you will make the rate that is currently applicable to that contract. If it's a cable contract, you would make the rate that's applicable to that contract. Those contracts continue after the date of the merger until they expire. Of course, once they do expire, we'll be renegotiating those contracts as one union, except that we'll have better bargaining strength to raise up those terms. What was the second part of the question?
He says, will there be less jobs in the market?
Right,
Will be flooded. He's a background actor.
Flooded with competition, right. Actually, background actors stand to gain a lot from this merger because, this is especially true for single card holders. Right now, single card holders, whether they're background actors or any other type of member, are limited to doing the work that's covered by their one union. For background actors, that is now going to change, and you would be able to have access to all the jobs that SAG AFTRA covers, and that's especially important for background actors because they typically rely on days worked to qualify for their pension and health benefits. Obviously, more access to work opportunities increases your chances to get those days worked, and that's very important. As for the competition aspect, it's really important to understand that the actors who are out there trying to make a living are often very largely already dual card holders, but even with the single card holders, there's not one of the aspects of labor law that frankly sneaks up on a lot of people. They just don't understand it until it's explained. There's nothing that compels employers to absolutely hire a union member for a position of work on even a union show. That's how most of us became members. We got our first job as we weren't union members yet. We got work on a covered position, and that's certainly true in background as well. You have non-union members who go out there and compete for union jobs. The important thing about merging the unions is it gives us more bargaining strength to raise up the number of covered positions. That lowers your competition from non-union members. We can also have better bargaining strength to do other things that the background community wants to achieve, like getting stand-ins out of the count and improving various aspects of their working conditions. Look, it helps us help everyone, including the background community, and I think it's a great deal for them and all of us.
Thank you, Ned. Rebecca?
Next one I'm going to toss to Kim. After the merger, will members vote yay or nay on a P&H merger proposal, or is that decided by the trustees of the plan? This is from Coulter via email.
That is a really good question. Thank you for asking that. Issues like plan design and a merger of the pension and health and retirement plans would be decided upon by the trustees, just as today. Our benefits and the structure of our health plan and our pension plan are determined by the trustees, who are fiduciaries and responsible to make sure that they operate only in the best interests of the participants. That is true today, and it will be true in the future. That will be a decision that the trustees will determine.
Thank you, Kim. Gabby?
This is from a mom in Chicago. How specifically will young performers have a direct voice and vote in the new union? Amy.
Well, young performers are going to have exactly the same direct voice that they have now in SAG and in AFTRA. They will just have a stronger voice because it will mean more. None of that is going to change one bit. We've got, the way I look at it, in a way, the setup that we have in terms of governance in this new union is kind of like, it's a lot like SAG's, except it's just a little bit more democratic. Because of the convention, you're going to have lots of delegates who will be directly elected. So there'll be a lot more opportunities. There are going to be several hundred people going once every 2 years instead of just 80 people or 70 people, which is what we have right now. Every other year, you're going to have a couple of hundred people, which could certainly include people who are representing the young performers, who will be able to have a voice. They'll be directly elected, and they'll have a direct voice in who the vice presidents and the other national officers will be.
One thing is, so it's really one member, one vote. But what I wanted to ask was something that I'm hearing from parents, and it's a misnomer. So if you could just address this, is the idea that young people they think they're not going to be able to have any kind of voice, even though you say they represent it. And I think one of the confusions is they want to know about running for offices. And so
running for office. Oh, that they need to be 18 years old in order to run for office?
And that was the misunderstanding, that they actually, when you're 18, you can run for an office, but the fact is you get a vote even when you're younger. And I wanted to clarify that.
Of course, every SAG member and every SAG AFTRA member will have a vote, just as they do now. They will just need to be 18 in order to run for office.
Thank you.
Gabby, just one addition to that. We currently have a Young Performers Committee in the Screen Actors Guild, and that committee will continue, and this will be a forum. The new union will be a forum for a lot of member input through committees like that. And so the same voice that young performers have currently will not only continue, but as Amy stated, there will be opportunities to expand that.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I'm just going to butt in here, but one little thing. But while we're on the subject of young members of the union, I have to say a key aspect of why we're doing this is about the future. This is not about the past. There are a lot of people involved in creating this plan who have had nice, long, rich careers, and an important reason we're doing this is to protect young members and members who aren't even members yet. And getting the input from those people, David, when David mentioned the Young Performers Committee, it occurred to me we've had lots of conversations during the course of the G1 about how crucial it's going to be to continually receive input from the young members of this union so that it is reflective of our contemporary times. We've got to shed some of our obsolete approaches. These unions were founded, 70 plus years ago, 80 years ago in the case of SAG. And there are certain ways of doing things that don't work as effectively as they should. And by really channeling and harnessing the energy of our young members, we're going to become a super relevant and very powerful force in the entertainment and media industries.
Attacking Google, Hulu, yay.
Do we know exactly how old Justin Bieber is? I just wondered in terms of our
Maybe my
future.
daughter knows, I don't know. Rebecca?
I'm going to toss this one to Holter. I know you started as a child performer. One of the things is, younger performers are worried that the technology just keeps changing and that we're not moving at the pace of that. So with your involvement in that, how do you feel SAG AFTRA will help address those kind of issues?
To lead off of what Rebecca said, I'm actually currently the national co-chair for AFTRA's Young Performers Committee, and I'm not going anywhere, so vote yes and I'll still be here, and young performers will have the voice that they have now and then some. In terms of the technology, we in both unions are smart enough to look at the younger voices, the newer members or the simply younger members, because they understand devices that seem rather odd to some of the rest of us in ways that we don't know yet. And so we listen for the voice of the young performer across all the different media forms to say, this is the kind of work I'm doing. This is the kind of work my peer group consumes and has an interest in, so we know where to organize. Roberta spoke about organizing a long time ago at the beginning of this, and that's what we do. We go into areas where we may not already have jurisdiction, and we organize that jurisdiction so that the younger members, significantly younger than I am, I was young once, weren't we all, will be able to have work across the sphere of what we do for a living covered by SAG AFTRA. They will speak with one voice, they will have one place to go for their protections and for their opportunities, and they will know that the future that we are trying to build for them, they can continue to own because we're looking out for them.
This is from Susan. I am watching the live stream, hello, and am still confused. I am a member of SAG, but not AFTRA. When we merge, will I have to pay an initiation fee to AFTRA? And I'm going to answer that. No. Okay. If you are a member of one union or both unions, you will automatically be a member of the new union, SAG AFTRA. Rebecca?
All righty. This one I'm going to toss to you, Roberta. At one time, when I belonged to both SAG and AFTRA, I was able to only pay dues to my parent union. Is this going to be a procedure in the current union? What will the new procedure be? This is Dick via email about the base dues.
It's interesting. This kind of thing comes up occasionally, and I think the thing we all have to remember is we are creating one new union. There will not be two separate unions. We're merging the unions together, but what you will have is one union. So you will not be paying two sets of dues. You will not have to pay a step up in initiation. You will not have to be concerned if you're only a member of one union now. If you're a member in good standing right now, or I'm sorry, on the effective date of either union, then you will be a member of the new union and you will pay one set of dues. And the base dues for the new union for everybody is $198 a year plus work dues. That's it.
Thank you, Roberta. Gabby?
Just wanted to say one more thing to Wendy. Not only will you be a member of the new union, and you want just to know that you're saving the $3,000 initiation fee, and I think that that's awesome. So congratulations. This is also from a woman named Wendy. It says, if merger passes, will the elected receive a salary? Ken?
Sadly, no. And that's the answer. As things move on into this new century, where it's going to unfold, it will be interesting how the National Board, the convention, the new membership, young people figure out how this leadership should be created, how it may change, how it needs to be compensated or not compensated. We have been very careful to make all that possible, to not put anything in stone. But for now, not only will people who follow us necessarily get paid, but certainly there will be no retroactive payment to those of us who have worked so hard for so long to get you here, and that's just fine. That's the answer.
The employers. And obviously, your ability to do that is undermined if you're two groups of people, or three or four. If you're any more than one, you don't have maximum bargaining strength, because the root of bargaining strength is the ability to say no and make sure that no one else can say yes. That's it. I mean, who wants to be in a union that can shut down half of television or part of commercials or a quarter of interactive video? I mean, it just doesn't make sense, folks. If you really want to have power, you've got to be sitting across that bargaining table and
Rebecca?
Next question I'm going to toss to Ned. This is an email from John in Baltimore. I've heard that bargaining strength is an important reason to merge. Can you please explain why that's an important reason?
Sure. Look, bargaining strength is an important reason to merge because it is truly the foundation of all the protections a union can provide. It's the reason unions exist. Unions are about the collective. Unions are about groups of people coming together to exert pressure on, be able to say, no, that won't do, and understand that your employers cannot get your services anywhere else. That's real power, and that's important because that raises everything that we do. That raises our wages, it raises our residuals, it betters our working conditions, and it increases our pension and health benefits. Those are a function of our bargaining strength as well. So that's why bargaining strength is so important to merger, and it's the key reason why this should happen.
Thank you. This is a Twitter from @BrotherBo. In a new union, will we have to start from scratch when negotiating our new contracts? If no,
where there are differences between the two unions, certainly one of our major goals, and this is actually stated in the merger agreement, is that we will be working from the highest set of terms and conditions, and we will be bargaining to ensure that we not only maintain, but that we increase from our highest set of terms and conditions.
Okay. This is going to be for David White. I have 27 years of pension credits as of this writing. I've heard many rumors about embezzlements from both unions and horror stories about the losses that the pension and health departments have had in the last few years. Can you please address this? This is from Mark via email.
do we start from AFTRA or SAG rates? Can you answer that for us, Kim?
Sure. In the new union, as I think Tom may have mentioned this earlier, the new union will succeed to the contracts of both AFTRA and Screen Actors Guild. So you don't have to start from scratch. The existing contracts will be inherited by the new union. The collective bargaining agreements that will be bargained from are the ones that currently exist. And in fact, in many areas, such as commercials, corporate, which is our first big national contract coming up, the terms and conditions in the AFTRA and SAG collective bargaining agreements are identical.